All right, so how do you find the roots? What do you do with your factors? Set them equal to what? 0. Go ahead and do that. Take both of these, set them both equal to 0. Solve it. Get your 2 solutions. So for the first one, you're going to subtract the 2. So you would get x equals -2. So that would be your first root. Remember, a root is the same thing as an x-intercept. And for your second one, how would you solve this equation? What would you do? Add 2. So you would get x equals +2. So those are your 2 solutions. Go ahead and plot those 2 points on the x-axis. Put a point at +2 and put a point at -2. Do you think this parabola is going to be a smile or a frown? Smile. So it's going to open up. So I just want you to draw me a parabola that looks like a smile that goes through those 2 points. It is that simple. All right, try to do the second one by yourself. Set them both equal to 0. Plot them. So Jaden, what would you get for this one? If x plus 5 equals 0, what's x going to be? -5. So let's put -5 on our line. Xavier, if x plus 1 equals 0, what is x going to equal? What's the opposite of adding 1? Somebody help out. What's the opposite of adding 1? So subtracting 1. If you subtract 1 from both sides, what do you get? -1. Ooh. Uh-oh, I done broke my pen. Hold on, y'all. I need to break down and get an Apple pen. Okay. All right, we get -1. So those are my 2 solutions. Go ahead and plot both of those points on the x-axis. Put a point at -5 and put a point at -1. Is this one going to be a frown or a smile? So it's going to open down and go ahead and draw you a graph and you are done. That's all. That is all you have to do. Any questions? All right, let's go to our notes. We're going to practice with the quadratic formula today. Now, you don't need to memorize the quadratic formula because it will be on the test. We just have to know how to use it. So when we go to page 12 in your notes, let's check to see if they can be factored. So we always start by setting it equal to 0. Is this equal to 0? All right, so A is 6. B is -2. And C is 5. What number would I put on top of the X if I was trying to factor it? It's always A times C, which is 30. And B is -2. All right, are there any numbers that would work for this? I would need 2 numbers that would multiply to be +30 and add to -2. Feel free to look at your multiplication charts to help you out. Are there any numbers that would multiply to be +30 and add to -2? No. So this cannot be factored. And the reason why is because the numbers don't exist. All right, this is why we have the quadratic formula, because the quadratic formula is going to work for everything. All right, so let's start practicing with the quadratic formula. So the first thing you want to do is identify your A, B, and C. So what is A? Wait, let me go back. Is it already set equal to 0? Yes, okay. So what is A? 5, B is 2, and C is... All right, so the quadratic formula, I'm going to go ahead and write it on both chalkboards really big too. Chalk. So this is the quadratic formula, and you're just like plugging it in. This is the quadratic formula. You don't need to memorize it. You write it on this side too. But you're just plugging in A, B, and C. That's all you're going to do. So in this first box, it says opposite of B. So we're just going to plug it in. Let's start off by putting in our B. So B's, this is for B, and this is for B. So in those two boxes, we're going to put our B value, which is what? 2. And then it's B squared minus 4A. You can go get some water if you need to. 4A. So this here, this is your A, and this is A. So what is A? 5. 5 would go here and here. And then there's only one place that we put our C. And C is -4. All right. So let's go ahead and simplify this. What I want you to do, and this is what you did yesterday. Yesterday, we only did the discriminant. Pick up your calculator, and I only want you to type this in right here. B squared minus 4AC. So in your calculator, I want you to type in 2 squared minus 4AC. That's this part right here. That's the only part I want you to plug in. It's what's underneath the square root. Let me grab a calculator because I don't remember the answer. Okay, so what do y'all get? 2 squared minus 4 times 5 times -4. Who got 84? What'd you get? What'd you get? Leah, what'd you get? Did you get 84? 84? Okay. We all got 84? All right, so we got 84. You type it in? Okay, so we got 84. So now let's go to our next box. So right here, I want you to put underneath the square root, put that 84. That's what goes in that box. Now here, because you're taking the opposite of B, see how that 2 has a negative in front? I want you to put a -2 right here. And then in your denominator is 2 times A, which is 2 times 5. And what's 2 times 5? 10. So 10 would go right here. So in your calculator, this is what you're going to type in. This is what we need to practice. First, you're going to put in, because this plus and minus represents two different answers. So the first thing I want you to put in is -2 plus the square root of 84 divided by 10. And then do the same thing with let's start with that first. Let's do that one first. So when your calculator, I want you to hit the fraction bar. This is tricky. I'm going to come around and help everybody. Hit the fraction bar. Type in -2 plus the square root of 84. And then go down and hit 10 and hit enter. This is something I kind of have to show you. So you hit clear, hit the fraction bar, that's the fraction bar. Type in what you see up there, -2. Hit the fraction bar. Does everybody know where your fraction bar is? So does everyone look on your calculator? I want you to find this key. There is a key on your calculator that looks like this. I want everybody to find this button. Does everybody see that button on your calculator? This stands for numerator, denominator. Hit that first. And then I want you to type it in just like that. -2 plus square root of 84 over 10. Perfect. Just hold right there. Then it's going to look weird. Hit enter. Hold. So now you got to hit. So you hit this button. It's -2 plus. You got to hit second function to get that 84 all over 10. Okay, now you do it. Nope, that's not what I said. You got to clear it out. Hit the fraction button first. This is going to be the hardest part of today because I have to teach y'all how to use the calculator. Okay, perfect. Pause right there. Okay, perfect. Pause right there. Okay, you get in there. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Looks good. Okay. So when you did that, it gave you another answer that looked pretty weird. So what I want you to do is I want you to go, everybody look at me. Find the button that says enter. Above that is two triangles. They go opposite directions. Hit that button. When you hit that button, it's going to give you a decimal. And it says I want two numbers after the decimal. So I want 0.7. I will take 0.71. Or that really rounds to 0.72. I'll take either one of those answers. All right, so now let's do it again. So you didn't type it in right. All right, type it in. So for the second one, let's do the second one. It's subtraction. So we have -2 minus the square root of 84 divided by 10. So now go ahead and type that in your calculator. Hit the fraction button first. -2 minus the square root of 84 divided by 10. You have to hit enter and then hit the button above enter. And the answer I'm looking for is -1.11 or -1.12. This is what you'll have to do on the test next Friday. So you have to know how to use your calculator. Button. And then you type in -2 plus, we'll do the minus, plus, and then you get second function. Not that one, it's this one. So hit the fraction button, -2. All right, let's do our next question. We're only going to do a couple of these. Let's do it again. So for this one here, it's not set equal to 0. So the first thing you're going to do is add 11. And when you add 11, you get x squared minus 12x plus 11 equals 0. You always start by setting it equal to 0 first. What is A? What's B? -12. What's C? 11. So now let's do our quadratic formula. I want you to follow the pattern that you see on the board. I wrote it on both sides. So it's x equals whatever B is, you flip the sign. So do you notice how B is -12? You're not going to put a -12. You're going to put a what first? Put a +12. And then it's plus and minus the discriminant, thank you, which is b squared minus 4ac. So underneath, you're going to put your parentheses, b squared minus 4ac. And that's all over 2 times a. So go ahead and write that out. We're on page 13. All right, now what I want you to do, I want you to pick up your calculators and just type what's underneath the square root, that pink part. Type that in your calculator. That's what we practiced yesterday. So in your calculator, you're going to put -12 squared minus 4 times a times c. Anybody want to tell me what you got for this piece? What did you get? What did you get, Xavier? 100. Anybody else get 100? Anybody not get 100? Oh, you did the whole thing. You put it under the square root. That's okay. All right, so now we have x equals 12 plus the square root of 100 divided by 2. Let's figure out what that is. Go ahead, type that in your calculator. Get that answered. I'm looking for a number. So put 12 plus the square root of 100 divided by 2. That's your first answer. And your second answer that you're going to type in your calculator is 12 minus the square root of 100 divided by 2. So I want you to give me my 2 answers. I'm looking for 2 answers. And this time you don't get decimals. You get just actual numbers. Okay, so I'm just looking for 2 answers. So you see how that gotta make it a fraction. 12 plus the square root of 100. Then you gotta put the 2 here. And do the same thing with subtraction. That's correct. They should both be positive though. It shouldn't be negative. All right, who got 11 and 1 as their 2 answers? All right, good. Couple more and then we're finished for today. This is one of those things you just gotta practice using your calculator. This is the last new thing before the test. This is it. Oh, let me go ahead and show the answers. So those are my 2 answers, 11 and 1. All right, 2 more and then we're finished. So the problem with this one is that it's not set equal to what? So I have to bring this over. This has to come over. And when I cross it over the equal sign, it changes to a negative. So in this example, A is what? 3. What's B? And what's C? All right, so let's do our quadratic formula. So instead of whatever you see here, you're going to start off with the opposite. So I'm not going to start this off with a -2. I'm going to start it off with a +2. So x equals +2 plus or minus. I'm going to write the whole thing out. Underneath the square root, we have b squared minus 4 times a times c. And that's all over 2 times a. So what I recommend you do is ignore this square root to begin with. Don't type in the square root. Just type in what you see in green. Figure out what that number is. This is how you're going to work through it on your own when you have the test. Don't put the square root in yet. Just put what's underneath the square root. And what did you get for that number underneath the square root? What'd you get? I can't hear you. 16. Anybody else get 16? Raise your hand if you got 16. All right, good. So you're going to put 2 plus the square root of 16. What do you get here when you multiply 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is what? 6. So I want you to type it in your calculator just like that. And then do it again with subtraction. 2 minus the square root of 16 all over 6. Go ahead and give me my 2 answers. One of your answers you can write as a fraction or a decimal. Did you get 1/3 or negative? All right, go ahead and check your answers against mine. Who had that? And you can write your second answer as negative 1/3 or as negative 0.33. All right, last one. Is it set equal to 0? Yep, so that's easy. So what's A? What's B? What's C? Negative 12. So let's set up our quadratic formula. X equals, now it's a positive 4, so we're going to do the opposite, which is negative 4, plus or minus. Now underneath your square root, you have b squared minus 4 times A times C. And that's all over 2 times A. Pick up your calculator. Type this in. Only what's in green. Let's start off with that. Figure out what that number is. That's our last question, and then we're done. You should get a pretty big number this time. What'd you get, Cortez?
448.
Anybody else get 448? That's a big number. So in your calculator, we're going to separate it. It's going to be negative 4 plus the square root of 448. And then what do you get down here? What is 2 times 9? 2 times 9 is the number that goes down here. And 2 times 9 is 18. So go ahead, type that in your calculator just like that. Just like that. Fraction bar, just like that. And this time you get one of those crazy numbers, so you have to hit that double triangle button to get a decimal. So I'll come around to help, but you should get 0.95. I'm going to come around and look at your answers to see. And then do the same thing with the negative 4 minus the square root of 448 all over 18.
So the second one is a decimal?
They're both decimals, yeah. Both of them are decimals. All right, what you should get for both of your answers, if you did it correctly, if you typed it in right, which again, you just have to practice with the calculator. You get negative 1.39, and that really rounds up, but I'm not even worried about rounding. And that would be your final answers. Any questions? All right, homework 3 is due tomorrow. Use this time. You should be able to finish out all of homework 3. So on the front side, you're just doing b squared minus 4ac. On the back, you do the